Hey guys, my name is Scoby and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to play Nintendo Wii games on your Xbox Series S and your Xbox Series X. This is going to be a nice, quick and easy tutorial. I'm going to be showing you step by step how to do everything. Let's jump right into this. So I will mention for this video, you're already going to need to have both dev mode and Retroarch already installed on your Xbox Series S or your Xbox Series X. That's not something I'm going to be showing you in today's video, although I will be leaving a card on screen to my previous video where I show you step by step how to do that. You can feel free to watch that. We're going to be coming back here and I'm going to be showing you step by step how to set up Wii directly on top of your Xbox. I will mention, if you've been following along with my previous videos, we're actually going to be using a slightly newer version of Retroarch in today's video, 1.9.4, so it might look slightly different, although the process is still very similar. The next thing we're also going to be needing to do is install a file explorer application on our Xbox, because later in the video we're going to need to transfer specific game files for our emulator Dolphin from our hard drive to our Xbox, so that's what we're going to be doing next. From this point, we're going to need to load up our Xbox Series X, and we're going to need to know the IP address for the remote access on the bottom right. This is what we had to use to install Retroarch previously, but we're going to need to locate back to this website again to bring over some extra files that we're going to need to play PlayStation 1 games. From this point, we're going to be opening up our web browser and we're going to be locating to the URL that we had set previously from our Xbox. I have just logged in and I'm right here right now. So for us to bring our BIOS file to Retroarch, it is technically possible to do it from the web portal. However, I've always had a lot of issues with that, so I would recommend doing it through a file browser instead. So what we're going to be doing is installing a file browser on our Xbox through the web portal so we can actually transfer our BIOS files via the USB over to our Xbox directly. So what we're going to be doing to do this is come to this link. As always, links is in the description down below. And what we're going to be doing is downloading a file explorer application that we're going to be installing on our Xbox dev portal. So come to this link, simply click download, and then your download will begin. Once your download is done, we're going to be coming back to our Xbox dev portal. We're going to be coming to the My Games and Apps on the home section right here. We're then going to be selecting the add button here, and we're going to be choosing our My Explorer file .appx that we just downloaded previously. Click open, select your file, select next, then select start, and then your file will start to install. Now this can take a couple of seconds before it fully installs and opens up on your Xbox, and just like that the file should be installed. Now once that's done, we're going to come back over to our computer and we're going to be talking a little bit about the content and files we're going to be needing. We're going to be talking about the system files we're going to be needing for our Retroarch application, and then we're going to be talking about game files a little bit later. So the first thing we're going to be needing to do is download game assets for our actual Dolphin emulator. To do this, what we're going to be doing is coming to this link. Links is always in the description down below. And this is going to be for the desktop version of the Dolphin application. We're going to be getting this and we're going to be taking some files from it. So what we need to do is come here. We're going to be clicking here to download the latest version of Dolphin. And once we come here, we're just going to be downloading the latest version of the Windows x86. As you can see, I have it here. Simply left click on this and then your file will start to download. From this point, I'm just going to be moving it to my hard drive, and you can see I have it right here. Now this is in a .7-zip file and we are going to need to extract this. So for this, you will need either a WinRAR or 7-zip to open this up. I'll be leaving both of these linked in the description down below. For today's video, I'm going to be specifically using 7-zip, although the process is very similar for WinRAR. And you may also need this application for games a little bit later on, so it is important to get these. So to extract this, what we're going to be doing is right clicking. We're going to be hovering over 7-zip and we're simply going to be clicking extract here. Our files are then going to start to extract. From this point, we're going to need to create a new folder on our external drive that we can bring over to our Xbox. And we're going to need to make sure it's named Dolphin-EMU, exactly as it's written here. And what we're going to be doing is copying some files we just extracted from our Dolphin folder. So what we're going to be doing is opening up the Dolphin extracted folder that we have. And we're going to be looking for the system folder contained inside in this. We're simply going to click it. We're going to right click and we're going to copy. And then we're going to be going to our Dolphin-EMU folder that we have here. We're going to be double clicking inside here and we're simply going to be pasting our system folder file right inside here. Now just like that, we have our system folder inside here, and now this folder is ready to be brought over to our Xbox Retroarch folder a little bit later on. From this point, we're going to be talking about games, and I will mention again, I'm not going to be sharing any download links to where to download your games. You can feel free to download them or create dumps or backups for any existing games that you have. However, if you are like me and you have downloaded your games, they will most likely come in a .7-zip file as I have right here. Now sadly, we can't extract this file type directly inside Windows, so we are going to be needing a second tool or application, either WinRAR or 7-zip, to be able to extract this. Both of these will be linked in the description down below, and I'm going to be using 7-zip in today's video. If you would like to extract a game using 7-zip, all you need to do is right click, hover over 7-zip, and then we need to click either extract files if you want to choose a location, or extract here. For today's video, I'm simply going to be clicking extract here, and then my game is going to start to extract out. Now these games can get quite big depending on the games, especially if they're dual layer, so you may have to be a little bit patient here while this game extracts, and we'll just need to wait for it to extract. And once your game extracts out, it will come out in a .iso format or a disk image file, and this is exactly what we need for Retroarch. So basically what we're going to be doing is taking this file and bringing it directly over. Now there is a couple things to keep in mind about ISO files and playing them on Retroarch. You might have some luck playing them from an external drive, although this can cause larger loading times and may give issues and your games might not load at all. So depending on how big your game is and the games you're trying to play, especially dual layer games or CISO files, you may want to transfer them into the internal storage on your Xbox. So you might want to experiment with this. In my previous Retroarch install video 1.9.4, I did show you how to expand the internal storage on your Xbox, and I will be showing you how to transfer game files directly into your internal storage on your Xbox, just so you know how to do it. But you may want to experiment with this. Some games might work just fine from an external drive. Some games might not work from an external drive at all. So this might take a little bit of testing to find out the best method for you, but I will be showing you both in today's video. From this point, we're ready to put everything on our external drive. We're going to be jumping over to our Xbox and we're going to be continuing from there. So once you're over on your Xbox and you've plugged in your drive, if this is your first time plugging in your drive, you might get this pop-up asking if you'd like to use it for Xbox game storage or media storage. It's really important here that you select media storage so we can add whatever files we want on here. Otherwise, if you select game storage, it will fully wipe your drive and only allow you to install Xbox games on this. So it's important that you make sure this is entered correctly. From this point, we're going to be opening up the My Files Explorer application here, and we're going to start transferring over some files. So this video is brought to you by me. Today I'm going to be sponsoring my own video with my new merch line. This is going to be the first t-shirt I'm going to be launching for the channel. It's a very nice quality print that you can get from Teespring. Everything is linked right below the video here and all videos on my channel. It comes in a number of different colors. You can get it in a hoodie, different women's style t-shirts, stickers. It'll definitely support the channel if you can check it out, and I'd really appreciate it. Let's jump right into the video. Once this is opened up, what we're going to be doing is using our left thumbstick and we're going to be hovering over removable storage devices. We're going to be clicking the A button here, and from this point what we're going to be doing is locating to wherever our BIOS file is downloaded. So for me, it's in my BIOS and ROMs folder, it's in my Xbox folder, it's in my BIOS folder, and it's right here, it's dolphin.emu. What we need to do from this point is copy this entire folder. To do this, we can simply click the start button right here. We can select copy folder, and now we're going to have to locate to our Retroarch folder and transfer that over. To do this, what we're going to be doing is coming here to the My Library on the left. We're going to be selecting the isolated storage right here, and here it will now show up blank, and that's because we're currently in the My Files Explorer application folder. Don't worry, we can simply back up one out of this by clicking on packages. Here we're going to see a bunch of different folders. What we're going to be looking for is the IE4C folder. As you can see, mine is right here, and this is going to be our Retroarch folder. We can simply click A to open this up. Once we're here, we're going to be clicking on the local state folder right here. We're then going to be scrolling down using our right thumbstick to come down. We're going to be coming to our system folder, and here's where we can place all of our BIOS files. We can really easily paste our BIOS file here by clicking the start button. We're then going to be hovering over paste, simply click A, and then our files are going to start to paste. Now this might take a couple seconds while everything pastes over, so you might need to be a little bit patient here. From this point, as mentioned, you might want to transfer some of your Wii games over from your external drive to your internal storage on your Retroarch. To do this, of course, the first thing you need to do is, of course, expand the internal storage on your Xbox to be able to support all of the games that you need. Again, I showed this in my Retroarch install video, so that's already set up for me. What we're going to be doing from this point is coming back to our Retroarch folder. We're going to be coming inside the local state folder right here, and I'm going to be creating a new folder for games. I currently already have one created, but if you would like to create a new folder, you simply need to come up here to the top right, click on the three dots, and we're going to be clicking a new folder, and you can name this folder anything you like. Once we have this folder created, we can put all of our ISOs for all of our games right here. So currently the only file I have right here is FIFA Street for the PlayStation 2. What I'm going to be doing is adding some Wii games here as well that we can then play once we load up Retroarch. So all we need to do from this point is come back to our removable storage and locate to where our Wii games are. So I currently have Super Mario Galaxy.iso file right here. Now currently this game is around 3.16 gigabytes, so it should be able to play no problem for our external drive, but just for the process of today's video, I will be transferring it to my internal drive. So we need to hover over it, simply click the start button, click copy file. We're then going to be going back to our Retroarch games folder that we just created. Once we're here, I'm going to be clicking the start button again. I'm simply going to be clicking paste, and then our game is going to transfer across. Again, depending on how big your game is and how quick your external drive is, this can take a couple seconds to a couple minutes. And just like that, our game is transferred over. From this point, what we're going to be doing is loading up Retroarch. Now, once Retroarch is opened up, there is going to be one thing we need to do before we can actually start to load up and play Wii games. We're going to have to create a new configuration file that basically changes the video driver that we have set up in Retroarch. To this, what we're going to be doing is coming here. We're going to be coming down to the settings. We're going to be coming to drivers, and we're going to be looking for the video driver right here, which is set to OpenGL. Now for most cores on Retroarch, that is what we need. However, with the Dolphin core, we need to set it up as D3D11, or we can also use D3D12, which will automatically redirect to 11. Now we also set this up before in my GameCube video, so if you're using that, it is the exact same process. However, I'm going to be creating a brand new one here as well. So all we need to do is select the D3D12. Our video driver will now be set to this. We need to click B. We're going to be coming back to our main menu. We're going to be coming to configuration file, and we're going to be saving new configuration file, which is basically going to take the settings that we just have now and save it to a new configuration file. Now we can easily load to this file by coming up here anytime we load up Retroarch to the load configuration option. We can then select the configuration file that we just created, which is on the 27th of June. So you can see 0627 right here. We simply select this. Our screen will go black for a second. Now if we come down here to our settings and select drivers, we can see it's set up to D3D12. So you can really easily load this configuration file whenever you want to play Dolphin. From this point, we're going to be coming back to our settings. We're going to be coming to the main menu. We're going to be clicking load core, and we're going to be locating to our Nintendo Wii or Dolphin core. So you can see it here, Nintendo-GameCube/Wii, or in brackets Dolphin. We simply need to click the A button to select this. From this point, what we need to do is come down here to the load content option, and we're going to be locating to wherever our games are. So if you're loading your games from an external drive, you can simply come down here to your E drive, and your games will be located in here. Otherwise, if you're using the internal folder like me, what we need to do is come here to the very top. We're going to be looking for our Q drive, which can show up right here. We need to click the A button here. We can then locate to the folder that we created. For me, it's the games folder right here. Click A to open this up. So for me, I have Super Mario Galaxy.iso. Again, we simply need to click the A button to open this up. If you have multiple cores that can read this file type, we will need to select this again. Again, simply come here to the current core, click the A button, and then our core is going to load up. And just like that, Nintendo Wii Games will be loaded up on our Xbox Series S or our Xbox Series X. Now sadly, it's not that simple. There is a couple of other things we need to do, or more specifically controller settings that we're going to be taking a look at. So what we're going to be doing is clicking our menu combination that we set up previously. For me, it's down and select. And we're going to be coming to our controller settings. Simply scroll down until you see controls. We will see it right here. We're then going to be coming down here until we see port 1 controls. And what we're going to be doing is coming here to device type, and we will click A to open this up. And we have a couple of options here. We have RetroPad, we have WiiMote, we have WiiMote Sideways, we have WiiMote plus Nunchuck, we have WiiMote plus Classic Controller, and then we have Real WiiMote. Now for today's video, if you're like me, you're going to be using an Xbox One controller. We'll basically choose one of these top 4. So WiiMote, WiiMote Sideways, WiiMote plus Nunchuck, or WiiMote Classic Controller. So depending on the game you're playing and depending on the requirements, if it needs a WiiMote, if it needs a WiiMote or a Nunchuck, or you can use a Classic Controller, will depend what you will actually choose here. So in my case, we're using Super Mario Galaxy. So in this case, we will need a WiiMote and a Nunchuck. However, if you're playing something like Smash Bros, you can feel free to select a WiiMote and Classic Controller, and then basically just set up the Classic Controller. So depending on the game you're doing, you can select any one of these. So for me, I'm going to be using WiiMote and Nunchuck. From this point, I will also mention there is one extra limitation of trying to play Wii games on your Xbox Series S or Xbox Series X. The eagle eyes among you already might have noticed this. We currently do not have a WiiMote or WiiMotion Plus because of course it requires extra hardware in the controller. That is something we cannot emulate yet using Dolphin. So for any games that require WiiMotion Plus will not work with this. So you are limited to these for at least for the moment. Hopefully in a later version of Dolphin and Retroarch, we'll be able to do this. But for the moment, we are limited to these. However, we can still play a very large percentage of the Wii library using just this. So again, as mentioned, I'm going to be using the WiiMote and Nunchuck. From this point, we can scroll down and we can see all of the different Xbox buttons and what they relate to. And these basically relate to all the different key mappings for our Xbox controller to what can be done on a WiiMote and a WiiMote Nunchuck. So we can see that the up button here is located directly to the up button. The down button is located to the down. So you can see on the left the actual combination for our controller, and you can see on the right what it links to on our Wii and WiiMote. You can see that the B button on our Xbox controller basically emulates the A button on our WiiMote. The C button is the Y button, and you can scroll down here and see all the different things. And the cool thing is if you come down here a little bit further, we can see some advanced commands, including the shake Nunchuck, shake WiiMote, going to the home button, and then doing a bunch of other things, including tilt commands that are basically all linked to the different things on our Xbox One controller. At first, this is a little bit weird, but once you get used to it, it's really, really cool. But I'd recommend coming in here, taking a look, just kind of learning everything that there is. Once you get a little bit more comfortable, if you want to come in here and experiment and customize this, I would definitely recommend doing it. It will make playing Wii games on your Xbox a lot better, but it's definitely something really cool, and it's definitely putting us in the right direction. From this point, we're going to be clicking back out of here, and you basically need to set up all the controls for all the different controllers you want to use and set up everything you want here. Now, once you have this saved, another thing we can do is actually also customize and save overrides depending on the game you're playing. So as mentioned, some games will want to use a Wiimote and nunchuck, some games will want to use the classic controller, so depending on what you're doing, you might want to save individual things. So once you have your controller controls saved, what you want to do is come down here to overrides. We're going to be clicking the A button to do this, and what we can do is come down here to save game overrides, which will basically save and automatically attach everything to one game, so you won't need to manually come in here and set this up every time. You can easily set up all your settings, save it directly to that game, so whenever you load up that game, all of your settings will automatically load up, which is definitely a nice thing and makes your life a lot better when trying to play Wii games on your Xbox Series S or your Xbox Series X. From this point, what we're going to be doing is scrolling up a little bit more. We're going to be looking at a few more options. In this case, it's going to be core specific options for Dolphin. Simply come here to options, click the A button, and here we'll have a bunch of extra options that we can play around with for our Dolphin to basically customize how our Wii will. The first thing we have is the EFB scale, and this will determine what resolution we actually want to run the game at. So by default, it is 1x, and with the Dolphin and the Xbox, depending on the games, you can probably go up to 4x. For the most part, I'd only recommend 1 or 2, and then just experimenting to see how the game handles. It really depends on the game you're playing, but it's quite cool that we can go up to even a multitude, so feel free to experiment with this and see what works best for you in the games that you're playing. Now, when setting up the Wiimote IR mode, we do have a couple of options here: relative, absolute, and mouse pointer controls. When you set up relative, it will basically move around the screen very fast and won't stick to any point in particular. This can be great for some games, so depending on what you want to do, you can feel free to set this up. Absolute will basically make the Wiimote stick in the center at all times, and then when you move your thumbstick, it will go around the screen. So whenever you're not touching your thumbstick, it will automatically go back into the center. For me, for the most part, this feels the most natural, but you can feel free to play around with this. And then finally, you have mouse controls pointer, which from my understanding allows you to connect the mouse to your Xbox to use it like that. For me, this isn't something I've played around with too much, but what I'd recommend doing is playing around with relative and absolute to see what feels most natural for you. We have the Wiimote IR sensor, height and width. Again, these are all set to 50. By default, I'd recommend leaving everything alone and then slowly starting to experiment with the controls to see what feels natural to you. For me, for the most part, the default controls are quite good, so you can feel free to experiment here. We have the CPU core clock. By default, this is set to 100. If you are having some slowdown in games, you can try to turn this up a little bit, although this can cause some errors and some bugs, so that is something to keep in mind. I'd recommend experimenting with this only when you have issues. We have widescreen, which is default on. I'd recommend leaving this on. It is nice that we have this. A lot of Wii games can run widescreen by default, so it won't actually do any stretching. We have progressive scan and PAL 60. Again, I'd recommend leaving both of these on. However, you can feel free to experiment with these depending on what you're doing as well. And most of the other settings, I recommend leaving them by default. I didn't play around with anything else too much here. I was pretty happy with most of the default settings that we had set up in Retroarch. Depending on what settings you have set up here, you might want to restart your game, so that is something to keep in mind. Finally, you can come up here to manage core settings, click save game options, it will automatically save everything, and then just like that, you have that set up. The last thing I'd recommend you do is create a game playlist. You can see I have one right here for the PlayStation. It basically concatenates all of your games into this nice folder, so you can basically really easily set up and select all of your games that they're easily selected. You can automatically attach a core to everything, and it makes your experience a lot better in Retroarch, especially if you're using a lot of consoles, so you don't have to manually select and set up everything every time. That's definitely something I'd recommend doing. And if you want to support the channel, feel free to click the join button. You can become a member of the channel for as little as €1. It'll really help out the channel and push more videos in the future. You can click the join button right underneath any video on the channel to join the channel, and it's really easy to do. Anyway guys, it's as easy as that to play Nintendo Wii games on your Xbox Series S or your Xbox Series X. If you guys enjoyed this tutorial, be sure to drop a like. Subscribe if you're new, check out the other videos on the channel. I'm going to be leaving a link down below to my PayPal if you found these videos helpful and you want to support me. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, as always, keep it saucy. Peace.